Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good morrow, whatever it is while you're consuming this. Johnno here, but it's three of us tonight. Why, you ask? Just to change it up a bit, but we're going to talk about today's game between India and the Netherlands, and then we are going to preview the semi-finals, our predictions that you don't want to listen to, as always. And then, probably some more gumph mixed in there, no doubt. Gentlemen, how are you? Eugene, completed night nurse and lemsip.
Yep, still got the man flu, as you can hear. But yeah, plodding on. Just a quick question. Who else were they expecting if it wasn't Johnno here? Were they expecting somebody else other than Simon, myself, or you on this podcast? Have we got other people that presented?
I'm confused. I don't know what you're talking about.
Never mind. I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I say a little worse for wear. I went to that big charity do last night for the Lashes Foundation. It was absolutely fantastic. So so I've been better. I feel like I've been awake for about 3 weeks. But other than that, all right, thank you. Simon,
yeah,
you well?
Pretty good. That was, my voice went very high pitched then for some reason. I can't quite figure out why. Now I've basically had a stag do at home this weekend. I had a couple of friends come up. And we sprinted at it Friday night, and then yesterday had a second day drinking event where we couldn't seem to get drunk, so waded our way through an awful lot of beer.
Tried hard.
I did. Well, at one point, my wife has informed me I was just stood at the side, just swaying. I was refusing communication with anyone. But no, it was actually
amazing.
good fun.
They're the best.
So yeah. Good.
So, I mean, it sounds like we've had fun. We know Eugene's not feeling the May West. Another group of people who are probably not feeling great, the Netherlands, after the first 50 overs of today's game.
They got whacked everywhere, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
I mean, India are just a very good side, aren't they? They've got all bases covered batting-wise. Like I say, we say they haven't got any hitters, but they've still got KL Rahul that came in and got a 60-ball 100. So you can obviously strike it quite nicely. Shreyas banged it everywhere, and so they're just very good. I didn't like what India did, though. I don't like it's giving 9 players a bowl. I was taking the piss, and I don't think you should take the piss.
Well, we always say respect the game, don't we? Like, and obviously Kohli got marshalled to 100 earlier in the tournament. We talked about that and not really liking it. But I know he bowled 3 balls earlier in the tournament when Pandya went down. But yeah, just a little bit. You know, it just leaves a bit of a sour taste, really, doesn't it? I know you've got some thoughts on this.
I mean, it's just pulling the piss. I'm trying to figure out who the only Indian bowler that didn't bowl was, obviously excluding KL Rahul, who was keeping wicket.
Shreyas.
I'm trying to figure out who it
Sharma
was.
bowled, didn't he?
Shreyas
Iyer, yeah, okay. So obviously
Sky
he's done
did it,
something.
Sky.
Yeah,
that was
2 overs,
bowled.
17.
Yeah.
Jesus, wow.
Yeah, just pulling the piss a bit, isn't it? Yeah. Virat Kohli got a wicket. The place erupted, strangled one down leg side.
Yeah. Strange.
Yeah.
I just don't think you're respecting the opposition if you're going to mess around doing stuff like that.
It's bad juju or bad karma for the semi-final, I think. So I think I'm going to go out early with my prediction and say New Zealand are going to win that one.
Right. So I'm
there goes our
supporting
Indian
New Zealand.
followers that were listening to the podcast.
I'm supporting New Zealand, but I'm going to predict an India win because then New Zealand will win.
I see. Yes.
As I am supporting South Africa, so I'm going to predict an Australia win.
Oh, that's shit.
Well, no, because obviously I always get my things wrong, don't I? So, therefore it'll be a South Africa New Zealand final, and then
I see.
I wouldn't mind who won that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'd probably go South. I'd probably prefer South Africa for your sake, to be fair.
Yeah, me too. Otherwise, it'll be a very somber Thursday recording, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. I'll be very quiet, like I was when Alan Donald ran himself out when Lance Klusener decided to run.
Alan Donald didn't run himself out. He didn't run.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, we're not bringing up the past, shall we? Not digging up the past. Look, yeah, very, very comprehensive win by the Indians against the Netherlands. And that concludes 45 matches of pool matches. What did you guys make of them?
Too long.
Too long and shut. Two very, very common words that we used all the way through this series of the Cricket World Cup dailies.
There were a lot of cricketers at this event last night. And obviously I talk cricket to people every day, just doing what I do. But, there's been a lot of talk about the World Cup, and everybody has said that they found it so hard to engage with just because it's gone on for so long, and they just don't feel like they've been able to keep track of it. And I think when you've got what we're on day 39 today, I think, aren't we? Yeah. So, 39 consecutive days of trying to be on top of what's going on and this, that, and the other. I just think that for whatever reason, this will have been done in this way because the BCCI will have thought that in some way would have enhanced. It would have been India's benefit in terms of either financially or some, I don't know what those reasons are, but the only way that the BCCI do anything is if they feel it's going to benefit themselves. I wouldn't necessarily think that was hit on the field. I think it's probably more kind of financial and whatever else. Maybe trying to, is it sponsorship? Longer tournament, more sponsorship revenue. Maybe that's it. I don't know, but I think that the common view from people that I speak to, obviously every day, working in the game, is that it's just not been an enjoyable World Cup in terms of from a viewing experience.
I'd agree. I just think there's also not enough sides in it. Why aren't the West Indies there? Why aren't Denmark allowed to? Afghanistan and the Netherlands, have shown that they're competitive. So why aren't we getting Ireland there, West Indies there, Denmark there, some of these other second tier? Get more teams there, have smaller groups. For me, it's not a World Cup when there's only 10 teams playing in it. Don't get me wrong, I don't think we need the Football World Cup where we've got 758 teams playing in it and you've got this absolute mess. But you can't tell me that we couldn't find 4 more sides, 6 more sides and go from there.
And you do 2 groups of 8,
4 groups of 4 and then do quarters, semi and final.
Yeah. It's just gone on far too long. I think that's the consensus, isn't it? From and you two no doubt will have spoken to people about this, and there will be I don't think we're wrong in this view. I think that's certainly the most. I've not had a single conversation where people have gone really like the format of this World Cup. I've really found it. I've really engaged with it, and been right on top of everything that's going on, and this, that, and the other. It has just quite frankly been a bit of a mess. But yeah, as I say, the BCCI. Love them as I do, as any regular listeners to this podcast will know. I think have again only gone to, and I would assume it's something to do with lining their own pockets, either through sponsorship revenue or TV rights or whatever. And that's why this World Cup has lasted 17 years. So in terms of India got off to a flyer, didn't they? Shubman Gill and Sharma, 100 partnership. I think Kohli then, Shubman Gill was out to a brilliant catch actually on the boundary. A really, really good catch in terms of keeping his balance right on the edge. I saw Kohli come out then, and I just had a feeling that he'd get that 50th 100 today. So I said to Lisa, I kind of want to watch this because I feel like this is history being made. And she said, no, we've got to take the baby out. So I didn't. And then thankfully, Virat Kohli got out, so I didn't miss it, which is kind of...
No, he looked like he was going to waltz to another 100, if I'm being completely honest. But then threw it away. And it kind of... It just... He didn't look like he was taking it seriously as soon as...
He's trying to be too cute, right? Some of the shots he was trying to play down to third man, and I was just like, play the normal shot.
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to ask, and I was thinking about this whilst I was watching it, I kind of felt like Virat Kohli looked a bit nervous early in his innings. He didn't, he had that one that just dropped short of mid-off where he charged down the wicket. He just didn't look his usual kind of really... confident self. I don't know whether he probably thought, look, this is a perfect opportunity against the Netherlands. These two, we're 100 without loss. These two have just banged it everywhere. Today's the perfect opportunity for me to break Sachin's record. But he didn't look that comfortable to me. I don't know what you two think. Huge?
I thought he was just taking it a little bit too easy. I mean, he was chatting to Rulov. There was a couple of times when he hit it back at him and he, stung his hands. And he was having a bit of a laugh and a chirp and trying to play too many dinky shots behind square instead of normally he would try and punch that through to the cover boundary for one. And I think that's how he got bowled actually, was, instead of trying to punch it down to the cover boundary for one, he tried to run it past the short third man for 4. So I don't think he went to his normal shot selection. He thought he was, it's a tier 2 side. Let me have some fun, which unfortunately in this occasion didn't work out for him.
No, so Sharma 61 from 54, Gill 51 from 32, Kohli 51 from 56. Interestingly, the only Indian batter to have a strike rate less than 100 today. Shreyas Iyer, first 100 in the tournament, 128 of 94, 10 fours, 5 sixes. KL Rahul, 102 from 64, 11 fours, 4 sixes, and then Sky 2 not out off 1 at the end. But I mean, 410 for 4, fielding in the heat. It just, I think the Dutch guys have had a good tournament, haven't they? They've had some really positive results, caused a massive upset against South Africa. And they've done the double over, haven't they, in the last 2 World Cups, because they beat them in the T20 World Cup last year.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were never, ever, ever in a million years going to chase that down.
I don't think they even tried, did they? It was just, that was a personal target of going, right, can we get 250? Can we get 260? I mean, we've seen this Indian bowlers have absolutely blown sides away. I'm pretty sure their aim was just for it not to be embarrassing. And to be fair, it wasn't. The only thing that was embarrassing is the behaviour of the Indians and the fact that they're giving everyone a bowl and all this kind of stuff. I don't like. I don't. Part of me kind of thinks it wouldn't. I would find it mildly amusing if it came back to bite them on the arse. Well, not, it's not going to, but if they didn't now win the tournament and partly, like you say, taking the piss out of the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there's no doubt that this Dutch side have proved their value in being there. Treat them with the respect they deserve, sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
Talking of the top 4, quickly, can you guys remember your predictions? Because I went back to episode 32 today, and I listened to them to remind myself of. I remember what I said, but I couldn't remember what you guys said, so I thought I'd ask. Johnno, you said yes. So what did you go for?
Well, I went England, so that was wrong.
Yep.
I didn't say Australia, so that was wrong. Did I?
Yes, you did.
Well,
You went
I
England,
definitely went
Australia, India, South Africa. Those were your 4. I went back and had to listen to them.
Oh, right, okay. So, I got England and New Zealand wrong then.
Yeah, you got England and New Zealand wrong. Simon, do you remember what you said?
I think I said New Zealand rather than South Africa. So
you went England, India, Australia, Pakistan, with a maybe an outside chance of South Africa.
Oh, I got that wrong there.
So, yeah.
So
I went England, Pakistan, New Zealand, and Australia, with the dark horse being South Africa.
So hold on. How many? So 2. You 2 got 2 wrong, and I got 1 wrong.
I got
maybe my powers of prediction are what?
I got 1 wrong. Pakistan.
You said England as well.
So India, New Zealand, Australia.
Oh.
No, I didn't say. I remember I said it. Remember, you guys were we were shocked when I said no England.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
So,
that just about proves that Super Brew's correct though, because you're first, I'm second. I think Simon's last, isn't he, at the minute?
Somewhere thereabouts, but yeah. I mean, you were depending on results today. You could have been the yellow cap holder for this round, believe it or not.
Oh, stop it!
I've got every game right in this round.
Oh, well done.
Not the margin, but I've got every game right.
I don't think there can be no arguments, can there? I think New Zealand came out and did what they absolutely had to do the other day and fully deserved their spot in the top 4, quite frankly. I am 20th. I think I'm 20th.
You are 20th.
That's
You're
good.
up 3. Yeah.
I am not.
Robert, you're 32nd.
Yeah.
And I am currently 12th.
Ooh. Huge 12th. Then me. Where's Robbo? That's what's the forfeit again?
Definitely wasn't one.
I thought it was that you had to put the money in for all the vouchers that I've got to hand out. You had to physically pay for them. One thing we do actually need to do is this now uploaded? Do we know the yellow hat from every one of the 6 rounds? Robbo, I believe that you have been collating the required information to tell us who the yellow cap holders are from each of the rounds.
That makes it sound like it was a lot of work. It actually wasn't. Round 1, the winner was Bryn Jones. Congratulations. Round 2, the winner was Mayank Malhotra. I do apologise for any name pronunciations
That's spot on.
I get incorrect. Round 3 was the joint winners with Anthony Gaydon and Ian Mulliush. I believe I've said that right. I don't know.
What are we doing there then? Are we
Maybe.
doing £25 each for them too?
I have
Yeah, why not? Let's do that.
no idea.
Yeah.
Round 4 was Scott Wesselo. Round number 5 was Jamie James Rooster Pete. And round
Oh, God, they named him.
and round 6 was David Roche. Currently, atop of the standings is Phil DeJager. So I know the points are doubled for the semi-final and final. Well, I think it's doubled semi-final, tripled for the final. So
who are the top 3 currently then, Simon, please? Because the top 3 all win vouchers, don't they?
bear with. In
They are currently, I can pull
first
up.
place,
Yeah,
we have
carry on, Robert.
Phil DeJager. In second place, we have Ian.
Mulesh.
Yeah, Ian's at second. I've just read his name out and now I definitely said it wrong. And in third place is Jamie James Rooster Pete.
Oh, the Rooster. Right.
Although it's
Roy.
tied. It's tied in second, so
Yeah.
those two are tied. It's top, yeah. Ian's on 48 points.
Right.
Sorry, Phil's on 48 points. Ian and Rooster are on 47. You've then got 2 guys on 46. So,
all to play for.
It's all very.
It's definitely all to play for because
tight.
Robert's just pointed out that it's double points for the semi-finals. And just to confirm, there's no yellow cap holder for the semi-final or the final. So it's now all that's left to play for is first, second, and third, and it's double points. So there's a lot of names that I recognize in the top 10. Fruitbat, Wesley, Roscoe, Greg Nielsen. I'm just outside the top 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, but none of us 3.
I'm in 12th. I'm only 6 points behind the first, so the results go my way, and I pick rogue picks. I could win it.
That's the entire final, and none of the.
It's double points, remember?
Yeah, well, the final's triple points, but that would rely. Okay. So 2 trebled is 6. If you're 6 away, you need the top 10 to get naff all.
Yeah, true. Which is fine. I mean, the semi-final, I'd pick a rogue pick. I could pick up 4 points on someone.
Are you going to back the Netherlands to win easily or something?
No, I'm backing Bangladesh like you should have.
Right.
Yeah,
so
I think it's going to be good semis.
Well, on to the semi-finals then. Who's going to win?
Well, I think I've said this from the beginning. I think that India have played such a stellar performance so far. I think they've got one bad game in them. And I think that bad game is going to be against New Zealand come Wednesday. Again, I've already pissed off half of the Indian population as it is by saying that India are not going to make the final. And so, yeah, from my perspective, I think the juju of bowling 9 bowlers against the Netherlands is going to come back and bite them in the ass. So I'll stick with my prediction of New Zealand getting through to the final to start with.
And then in the other semi?
Oh, there's only one winner there, right? I'm going head and heart and country. I'm going South Africa to beat Australia.
Just to pick up on one thing that you said about the India-New Zealand semi-final, if you'd managed to piss off half the Indian population, if we had half of the Indian population listening to this podcast on a daily basis, we'd be making an absolute fucking fortune in sponsorship revenue, which we absolutely do not. So sorry, Tim. Robbo, where are you going?
Sorry to disappoint you. I think Australia just gaining momentum at the right time. It looked very, very good yesterday. Mitchell Marsh, Mitchell Marsh.
Yeah, his brother
looks in great nick. They've got a lot of bases covered. I think they've got will beat South Africa. They have got, just for me, they've got all bases covered and are playing very, very well at the minute. South Africa are playing okay, but I just think they've not looked great in the last few games. And then I so want New Zealand to win because that's upset me today quite a lot with the Indians. But I just can't see it. I think if this was the first game of the tournament and you look how New Zealand were playing early on, fine, but they've kind of faded away a bit. Yeah, they did enough to beat a poor Sri Lanka side the other day. But I think whoever bats first will win that, if I'm honest. Whereas the other game will be a bit more even. So my final prediction will be India-Australia. How about you?
Well, okay. I'm going to go for India, as I've said all along, not to lose a game in the tournament. And I think with the injury problems that New Zealand have got, I just think India are too strong. I just think India will I think it'll be a good game, but I think India will come out reasonably comfortable winners. I know what you mean. I absolutely take on board your point about Australia peaking at the right time. I think whoever bats first wins that game. I think South Africa have proven themselves to be so good setting and then having a bowling attack that can keep applying pressure in the second half. But I think if Australia bat first, I just think that, and they've struggled with it a couple of times, South Africa chase. There's nothing I want more than South Africa to beat Australia. But I think South Africa's best chance of doing that is to bat first. So I think a lot of that's going to be toss dependent. I hope I'm wrong. If Australia bat first, I hope South Africa, keep them down to a reasonable total and then knock them off. But it depends, A, how hot it is. How much does that take out of the side when they're running around in the field for 50 overs? But yeah, I can't see New Zealand getting past India, unfortunately. But I think that
who's winning the South Africa Australia game then? You haven't said who's winning. You sat in the fence and got
splinters.
Yeah.
Whoever bats first, I've said.
Such a cop.
Well, whoever scores the most runs is going to win, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I would love South Africa to win the game. I would much rather that. But I just don't have ultimate confidence in them chasing against a good Australian bowling attack. I think that they've really, we've seen throughout the tournament, South Africa have had a very, very strong plan of how to go about setting a total. They just don't look as convincing when having to chase a total down. And you would expect Australia, playing as well as they are, to put up at least 280 against a good, if they set. And I think that would be a difficult chase for South Africa. If South Africa bat first, they could quite easily put up 330 to 350. So, especially if they go about their innings in the way in which they have throughout the entire tournament setting. I just think they're a much more settled lineup when having to put a score together rather than having to chase one down. So, yeah, I would. So my prediction is Australia, because I always get my predictions wrong. And my prediction is India, because I always get my predictions wrong, because I'd love it to be a South Africa-New Zealand final. But I think it'll be an India versus someone. Those splinters are really starting to bed in, aren't they?
And if you want harder hitting opinion pieces, please log into Slogging It on a weekly basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there we have it. I think, and I know I go on about the BCCI quite a lot, and I don't really like the way in which they go about things, but, convenient again that India are playing in that first semi-final. Or was it one versus, was the top of the table always going to play in the first one as a kind of, well done, you were top of the group?
Yes, it was.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's probably fair enough.
I mean, arguably, they've got the shortest turnaround, right? Because their game finished today and they're now playing on Wednesday. So,
but they have the longer run into the final, don't they? They have an extra day's rest, you would say, into the final. But right, well,
one thing we've not discussed.
Go on.
Sri Lankan cricket.
Oh, yes.
Or lack of it.
Yes. Well, I mean, they're supposed to be coming over with 3 test matches in England next summer. So the ECB will be panicking because they'll have to get someone else in, won't they?
Well, apparently it's only a 2-week suspension, isn't it?
No, I think they did the same with Zimbabwe, didn't they? They have to then consult government and the governing body, because the government sacked the governing body and then some kind of arbitration court or something then reinstated the governing body like 2 days later or something. So it's a mess. So when I was at Wimbledon, playing for Wimbledon, there's a guy who's still there called Dilshan De Silva, whose father, who I met on a couple of occasions, used to be on the Sri Lankan cricket board, but, was on it, then off it, then back on it, then off it, then back on it. I just think the political nature of the whole setup in Sri Lanka is just a minefield. And so, when I saw it, having had kind of second-hand experience of it through stories that I've heard from Dilly and whatever, not really surprised. There are countries where things like this happen on a much more regular basis than they would be, say, here, where it's much more regulated and things do probably sit a bit more separately. I think certainly not a third world country, but countries where the government have a much more overarching reach over everything, in a more direct capacity, I think it's easier for these problems to occur. And I don't think you'd ever really see it happening here or in Australia or, the US if that ever, if they became a cricketing powerhouse. I think it's smaller countries like you, where government, where it's probably a bit easier to, through a lack of regulation, government coups happen and stuff like that. It's not quite as, I suppose, regulated's the word that I'm really trying to look for. I know I used it a couple of times now, but I think that's where a lot of the problems will span from.
I just think it's a bit strange. Like, I'd need a lot more information on what's happened, what's come about, how it's come about, because they've been suspended for government tampering or interference. Well, surely we can say about India, for example, where you've got, are they involved as heavily or on there? I mean, you'd argue that. You saw what happened with the Australian cricketers following Sandpapergate, like when prime ministers and stuff are getting involved. How involved is involved?
Isn't it something to do with, it's about how much influence the government can have within that environment, isn't it? So something to do with, there were two nephews of kind of pretty senior governmental ministers being on that panel or something. And so that's why it's been seen as they can have a lot more kind of direct interference through family members than people who would be seen to be impartial.
Oh, okay.
But then I think the government, didn't they then say that £2 million has been shifted into offshore accounts by the governing cricket board in Sri Lanka? And again, has that happened? No idea. But I think if they've got insider information because they've got nephews or nieces or friends, I think it is family members. From what I read, I think it's two family members of pretty senior government ministers in Sri Lanka on the board. I think that was where the questions started to be raised. And as they've been fired, someone's probably gone, oh, by the way, ICC, do you know that this person's related to X and this person's related to Y? And then the ICC have had a pretty dim view of it. So I think that's what's happened. But it's certainly not the first time we've heard of problems in Sri Lankan cricket, is it? I mean, it was only probably, what was it, last year, 2 years ago, where when the Prime Minister had to flee his house and people were just like wandering around it and looting it and just sitting in his garden having lunch and stuff, weren't they? So, the political history of Sri Lanka has at times been littered with difficult moments, and I would just put it down to being another one of those occasions. But Sri Lanka have got a great history as one of the strongest cricketing nations, and we all hope that whatever the problems are, they can be sorted out pretty swiftly, and so they can be competing back on the global stage as soon as possible.
Yeah.
The final thing that we should talk about, the squads have been announced for England today, have they not? For some T20s and some one-day internationals towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm a bit bemused by how things are being announced within English.
When they're being announced.
Yeah, when, how, who. There's a lot of questions that could be asked in a minute. I think obviously Rob Keane had a blessed beginnings, clearly making excellent decisions. But then there's just been a few bits and bobs that have happened recently that I don't. The whole announcing of central contracts midway through a tournament, the fact that they were negotiating.
The lads knew before the tournament, but it was the fact that it came out in public.
I just think there's questions to be asked about that as a thing. Why are you doing it just before a major tournament? Surely you don't want upheaval just before a major tournament. When we were asking questions at the start, before the announcement of central contracts came out, there's clearly something happened. Well, yeah. Our two senior members of the squad ain't got a contract. But that's a pretty big thing to happen. You've got a lot of questions being asked. And so we were right, really. There's obviously, we were asking what's gone off. Well, it's clear what's gone off. To not pick certain players for this upcoming leg, whether that's rest or whether that's whatever, that they seem to have gone for a bizarre mix of some senior players but not other senior players when people are calling for a complete overhaul of the white ball sides. and then not picking like a Joe Root saying he resting him for the Test series coming up against India, or a Johnny Bairstow. All right,
Yeah.
fair enough. But then not taking David Milan, who to be fair,
who outside of Ben Stokes has been our best player in the tournament.
Yeah.
Well, he's scored those runs. Right?
Yeah. And so for me, there's just, I'm a bit bemused by a lot of things, to be honest.
Eugene, what's the? I know you're not impartial completely, but what's your view been on it?
I'm surprised more of the England players didn't get the sack and went for younger squads going to the West Indies. But that coincides with the contracts that you guys are rightfully pointing out. So
it's just very strange timing. I'm sort of agreeing with what Simon says here. It's very strange timing on.
It's kind of going back to the England of old, isn't it? Where we've had this kind of not even indecisiveness. It's kind of non-decisiveness. Like it's just seems to be a bit of a mess. Like the whole, we've referenced the Ben and Baz a number of times throughout these World Cup dailies, and they're very, very clear on method, selection. What they want from the players, the kind of environment in which the Test team squad operates within. And then you get this new white ball thing, the central contracts, and when they were announced being one of them, who's been picked, like deciding them before a global tournament rather than actually then seeing who performs well and announcing them after, with a bit of a view of, okay, who's shown themselves to be capable at this level in a global tournament. None of that, because that couldn't be a consideration. And then the thing, I was saying to you boys on text earlier, like, how can they not pick David? I know they've given him a year's central contract. I mean, why would you not? And he's been our top run scorer in the World Cup. And let's not forget, up until not long ago, was the world number one T20 batsman. So it just kind of beggars belief a little bit, doesn't it? Where's the methodology gone? Where's the? It just didn't seem to make any sense.
No, and again, it just points towards this like bizarre thinking and bizarre communication. I think that's the thing. There's got to be a reason why they've not selected him. Yeah, he's 36, but why then offer him another year if you're not?
Exactly.
If that's an issue, like, are you just keeping him just in case? Because if in the big games he does play well, he's shown that. So for this T20 World Cup that's coming up next year, are you basically saying to him, look, you can have a year's contract? Is that what they're saying? Have they given him time to rest? Is he okay? Like, is there other reasons why he's not been selected? But to just say there's a squad, it's like,
But Ollie Pope's been selected out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think he's clearly someone that they've done the same with Zach Crawley. He's clearly someone that they've made him vice captain of the Test side, haven't they?
Yeah.
He's someone that they've identified as being one of the next.
They want him to be a multi-format cricketer, of course they do.
Leaders within that dressing room, leaders in that side.
Yeah.
You're thinking about it. You're currently going through a phase where Joe Root, Josh Butler, Ben Stokes, like that multi-format, people across the book, like leaders within that are driving the team and the mentality and all that. They're now coming towards the end of it, and they've clearly gone, right, Ollie Pope, Zach Crawley, Ben Duckett to a certain extent. You are the next group that we want to come in and be that kind of, you're the people. Like you look at football clubs, and they've always had people that come to you, like you talk about Manchester United when they were good before. They had like a Roy Keane, Steve Bruce, like people that this is how this club works. And from there, it went on to Gary Neville and Ferdinand, and it got passed on to them. And when the club's now gone to shit, ironically, well, not gone to shit, but
careful,
not gone to shit, but aren't successful. It's because they've lost that within the one of the many reasons would be that you feel they've probably lost that within the dressing room. So I kind of get what they're doing. They've clearly pinpointed certain players that are going to be the focus of how they want to play the game, how things are done. It's what you want to do, but tell us. Just communicate it.
Yeah.
I think if you're in charge of the person who needs to be fearing for his job most at the ECB at the minute is the blinking media guy who's in charge of when stuff gets released, how it gets released, all this kind of stuff. Because he's having she, they, whatever, whoever it might be, he's having an absolute stinker.
Yeah.
I mean, Rob Key's come out today saying, if you want to blame anyone for this one-day performance, blame me. So the prioritised head cricket. Hang on, have you? Can you say you prioritised the fall? You haven't even prioritised it. If you were prioritising it, genuinely, you wouldn't have got Ben Stokes out of retirement.
Yeah.
Because
I think he probably means more so in the amount of games that have been played or not been played, hasn't he?
I think that's going to have been decided long before he got involved in last April.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
They're not deciding now what's going off in September next year. They're not thinking they ain't got a fixture secretary ringing round. Going, oh, come on, have you got a Twos game available next Sunday? Well, that's not happening, is it? It's all world programs. It's decided 5 years in advance. So it's not. I don't think he can be blamed for the fixture schedule. As much as we'd like to think it might be someone like that. I've just got this really weird image now of some delightful old dear sat at Lord's or in the ECB headquarters ringing. I mean, the fixture secretaries at cricket clubs are brilliant people and everyone involved in the committee, but you've normally got two slightly older people where communication isn't necessarily a strong point, shouting at each other over a telephone.
yeah, absolutely. I've sat on enough cricket committees to know exactly what you're talking about. So,
have you got anyone to play against on June the 3rd? We'd like a 20
pre-season. Yeah. So, right. Well, there we go. The group stage has finally come to a close. 3 games to go. 2 semis and a final. You have obviously heard our predictions tonight. We've obviously announced the Super Brew yellow cap holders in the current top 3 of the Super Brew ranking. So obviously we will find out the winners of all of that amazing cash from my back pocket, basically, in Woodstock vouchers by this time in a week, I would think. Yes. Yeah, we'll know by this time next week, won't we? So, yeah, Sri Lanka, God knows what's going on there. We will obviously bring more to you as we find out. England, what's going on there? God knows. We'll bring more of that to you as we find out. I actually messaged David today just to see if I can get a bit of an inside scoop, but I think he's probably got on a flight home from India today and he's now probably spending time with his wife. So getting back to me probably isn't that high on his list of priorities.
Caprice as we speak.
Yeah. Yeah, he can probably just now enjoy his winter a little bit, can't he? But yeah, so there we go. Thank you for joining us throughout these entire World Cup dailies. As I say, 3 more to bring you, which will be all 3 of us, I believe, for the 2 semis, Wednesday night, Thursday night and Sunday night we will be recording. Then we will have a week off and then we will be back with you on what date did you say to me, Eugene Berger? No, not
Monday's not a date.
27th. We will record our next one. That'll be released on the 28th or the week of that week, depending on how busy Eugene is and whether he's got rid of the sniffles. So, yes, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Listeners, we love you dearly. And thank you for sticking with us throughout the 17-year tournament. You've seen us age, 17 years, if you've been watching us on YouTube whilst we're recording these World Cup dailies. But the end is in sight. So, on that note, thank you very much for joining us, and we will be back with you soon. Love you, bye.